Hi, I'm Chanie and you are listening to Growing Global. I am passionate about helping entrepreneurs grow and scale their business. I've been an entrepreneur for over 2 decades. I built my own businesses, sold a business, and continue to leverage the global economy. Growing Global is about educating, inspiring, and motivating entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs on how to take yourself and your business to the next level. In today's episode, I'm talking to Stacey McKibbin, the CEO of Consilio Corporation, a firm that focuses on training sales and customer experience professionals and leaders. Stacey is a global certified speaker. She led events with Google and Google partners to enhance and support business growth. She utilizes her background in science, neurolinguistics programming, and hypnotherapy to transform both individuals and organizations. Her clients are Fortune 500 companies to startups in a multitude of industries. Stacey works on performance improvement for all the client-facing departments of an organization. She is sharing her wisdom with us today. Hi, today we have Stacey McKibbin with us. Stacey, tell us about yourself.
Well, hello there. I'm really excited to be here today. It's interesting to tell you about myself. I think the most interesting thing about myself is that I am obsessed with not consumer behavior, I'm obsessed with human behavior. And I'm obsessed with why people behave the way that they behave, and I'm obsessed with why they think the way that they think. And not because I do it from a judgment perspective, but I am so curious about our species and why we behave the way we behave. So because of that, I have invested an enormous amount of time, the last 18 years to be exact, in really understanding people. So master certified in neurolinguistic programming. I'm a certified hypnotist. I'm master certified in DISC. I study all the different personality profiles. I'm working on my Enneagram right now. All the tools that really help us to understand why people behave the way that they do, with the end goal of helping them to communicate more effectively with one another. That really is, at the end of the day, what my vision is helping people to be able to connect and communicate with each other in a more effective and dignified way.
Okay, so tell us, work-wise, what do you do in your day-to-day work life?
In my day-to-day work life, I run a communication company. So we are a performance training company. We help to improve the performance of teams, really by helping the way they communicate with each other and with your high-value prospects and clients. So we do that by focusing in on 3 conversations. The first one is the conversation your front lines has with clients and prospects. The second one is your middle managers, how well they coach and lead and develop your front lines team. And then the third conversation is from your senior leaders to your whole organization, really breaking down silos and fiefdoms, helping the whole organization pull the oars in the same direction. That's what I do every day.
Awesome.
And I'm a mom, so that's kind of my crazy background.
That's all good. Tell us about, I know you do a lot of public speaking on different topics. What is a popular topic that you find yourself talking a lot about?
Right now, I think the big conversation is around change. And I think that our environment, being ripe with, the pandemic, the new millennial generation demanding a different way that we work together, the global climate change demanding that we find different ways to connect with people other than just planes, trains, and automobiles. I think the universe is calling us to find a better way to connect. And so because of that, I'm talking about strategic agility a lot and how you can harness the speed of change as your new competitive advantage. Specifically, kind of understanding how the emotional elements of change, how they affect us, and how we can create the awareness to actually change how we feel about that and ultimately get new results through that process. But I think the speed of change is only going to go faster. It's not going to slow down.
Okay, let's talk more about that, because I want people to be able to listen and take something away that they could apply to their own business when it comes to communication. Share with us some helpful tips or tools or things that we can do to.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the biggest things we need to recognize is just how we feel about change in general. I think a lot of times we'd like to say that we're really open to it, but the stats tell us otherwise. The stats suggest that there's a good percentage of the population that are just naturally change resistant or change averse. And so I think that's a big piece of it, is where we have to start, is recognize, how do you feel about change? When something new comes into your world, is it something that you get excited about and embrace, or do you naturally sort of be a little bit cautious at first? And again, there's no right or wrong here. It's just about, again, what is and how do you feel about that? And then the question I always ask as a follow-on is, once you know how you feel about change, is how is it serving you? Is it helping you to break through change and to break through those barriers? Because, we all hear that change happens on the other side of that comfort zone. So are we willing to break through it, or do we keep resisting it for some reason or another? And so that's step number one. I think, so if you could take away a process for this, it's that your beliefs lead to your thoughts evoke your emotions compel your actions, and your actions then create your results. So if you want new results, you have to get all the way back up to the top of that formula and take a look at your belief system. So that's where I really challenge people to, what do you believe to be true about change? Is it a necessary evil? Is it, oh, I can't believe we have to do this? Or is it like, yeah, what new opportunities lie on the other side of this? That's one of the biggest pieces. That's one of the biggest first steps about change, is recognizing that it's a constant. And so we have to move to the space of acceptance very quickly, so that we can actually create new emotions and new actions and new outcomes.
I love that. Belief, thoughts, emotions, actions, and results. That's really great. And it's all about your preconceived beliefs of, so if you can embrace that change, the only thing that changes is change itself, right? What do they say? The only thing that doesn't change, right? Things are constantly changing.
That's right. Yeah, the only thing you can count on is change.
Is change, exactly.
Right, that will be your constant. And, if you take the next step with that, is if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And so if you break that down again into its pieces, you get all the power back in that scenario to actually change how you think and look at it, which then will change how you feel about it. To me, I'm like, wow, I get all the power back. That's amazing.
So you're saying, if you're an optimist by nature and you're always looking at the glass half full, then that's going to be your belief system across the board.
Yep. And if you are a natural pessimist, which again is not a negative thing, there's a lot of really great reasons to be pessimistic or to be cautious. When we were all first coming out of the cave, you had to be cautious, right? I mean, that saber-toothed tiger would eat you, that you had to be very cautious and wary of the berries on that tree, because what if those berries killed you, right? So again, I think it's not a good or bad, or it's not a right or wrong, it's just an is. And the question is, how does it affect you? How does it serve you? So I can argue that for me, being a very optimistic person, I sometimes have to be cautious that I don't just immediately trust everything at face value, that I do a little bit of due diligence and digging. Whereas my counterparts, who maybe are more naturally pessimistic, they have to do some effort towards finding the good and finding the opportunity, as opposed to seeing only the challenges and the pitfalls. So both sides have an opportunity to see the beauty in the other one. But the question is do you choose to do it that way? Or do you allow, again, the belief to create the thoughts that this is overwhelming too much, to then create the emotions, I'm overwhelmed, I'm anxious, I'm stressed, to then create the actions of let me regress, let me stay, let me create paralysis and stay where I'm at, to then keep in my results, right? It's all connected together.
Okay, so let's talk about how this applies to current day, because we're all going through something that we have never experienced before.
Never.
And so what are we supposed to believe? How much of us, obviously we should stay optimistic during this time and see the opportunity in situations. But at the same time, you watch movies like Contagion and all those movies that are out there that,
I recommend those movies because I think they're good education. I mean, we actually sat down with the kiddos and watched Contagion this weekend, and the boys were blown away at how much it paralleled what was happening and how informative it was. So I highly encourage folks to do that. And again, recognize what you are thinking in those moments and then how you're choosing to feel. I think the biggest piece that people miss about the overwhelm and the feelings that are coming is that those feelings are coming from their thoughts. Those thoughts are coming from their beliefs, and they're not just things that are happening to them. So, I think right now everybody is feeling their feelings. That's what's happening. We're all feeling our feelings, which again is quote unquote fine, until we then use those as reasons to become hysterical or unreasonable or panic driven or some or any of these other outcomes that unfortunately don't serve us in these great stressful times. So again, I think it's, what do I believe to be true about this situation? I believe the pandemic is going to kill all of humanity. Okay, well, how likely is that? Well, it's not very likely, right? So we can start to talk ourselves off of the likelihood of those things. Is it going to create a new norm? Sure, likely. What is that like? What is that new norm going to look like? So that's where I take people oftentimes through the risk assessment. What's the risk that's going to happen? What's the severity of that risk? And then what's the probability, right? Because it's through kind of, again, that thought process of stopping yourself in the moment. I'm feeling my feelings right now. What am I feeling? What am I thinking? What do I believe to be true? Now let me risk assess that belief system. These are very simple neuro-linguistic programming techniques. All I'm doing is reframing my belief system and my thought process so that I can see it in a different way. And this is the really cool part about your subconscious, is your subconscious doesn't actually know the difference between fact and fiction. So whatever you tell it, it goes, okay. So if you tell it that we're fine and we're in an unknown time period and we're going to explore it as we go, and that, as new information becomes available to us, that we will use that information to make new decisions, then we'll be good. But if you use it to, create mass hysteria in your brain, you can also do that too. And you can do the Chicken Little, the sky is falling, and your brain will believe you. So this is where, again, I challenge folks to, which of these two folks do you want to be, right? And I would venture a guess in your audience that there's a lot of entrepreneurs and leaders and, people who are like, oh, heck no, I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to put myself back in the driver's seat. Well, this is how you do it.
Very insightful. Well, I'm trying to figure out how to piece this together based on a webinar I was on yesterday, which talked about the stages of grieving, which is very much in tune to what's going on right here, because this is an emotional response to perceived negative change. Yeah. And so he talked about, the stability, then the anger, the bargaining, then the depression, and then the acceptance. So the depression that people are feeling, because I had some of my leads admit to me that they're feeling depressed, which is good that they're able to open up and talk about the depression. But in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, well, you're just one step away from, you're in the last stage, because we saw anger and other things and denial like 2 weeks ago. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, they're just going through the natural stages of dealing with this cycle, right?
Yeah, very much so.
But you're saying that you can avoid the whole depression stage if you got back to your belief place.
Well, I'm not sure that avoid is the right word, because I think I'm with you and with the webinar from yesterday. I think there is a cycle that we're all going to go through. The question is how long do you stay in each of those areas? I don't think you need to stay in depression for a long period of time in order to fully complete the cycle. I think just like anything, it can be a passing marker on the freeway, right? You don't have to pull off and stop at that rest stop though. So I think you can see it and acknowledge it and recognize it, and at the same time ask myself, okay, I see myself feeling depressed right now. And again, this is where, you want to use the language of, or correct your language. It's not I am depressed. It's I am experiencing feelings of depression. And languaging like that will again to begin to reframe it, because it's the person is not depressed. The thought is fleeting that creates the emotion of sadness or depression. Does that make sense?
Yes. So the way to combat this is to get to your thoughts and understand why you're feeling this way.
Yeah.
I'm losing clients. I don't have any control, like all the different things that are happening.
Yeah. And also, what's the story you're telling yourself in that one?
Right. So help us, walk us through this for a moment. Let's do a quick exercise.
Sure.
If I'm a business owner and I am having negative thoughts because clients have left me because people have cut resources. And I see a significant impact on the finances of my business, right? So those are real.
Very real.
And therefore, I'm feeling angry or depressed or resent, whatever emotion, right? How do I give me some tools and how I talk myself through these thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I think first of all, you need to honor all of those feelings and recognize that that is exactly, appropriate responses given the certain circumstances. And I think a big piece is you do have to you do have to honor it for a minute and say, you know what, this sucks. And, I like to say, you got to throw your proverbial temper tantrum and just say, this is unfair. This sucks. I'm not happy about this. And all right, now that I got that out, what am I going to do about it? Right? So throw your temper tantrum, recognize it, and then ask yourself what you're going to do about it. Move forward to that next step. And then you get to choose. Do you want to stay in that temper tantrum for an hour? Or excuse me, for a minute, for an hour, for a day, for a week, for a month, for a quarter, for a year? I mean, we all know these people, right? That live their life where everything is always happening to them. I call this the difference between living your life above the line and below the line. Above the line, we have ownership, accountability, and responsibility. If I were to take that acronym, you've got your OAR, your OAR, ownership, accountability, and responsibility, right? Below the line is blaming, excuses. As adults, we love to call excuses reasons. And denial. And if you take that acronym, you've got the acronym of BED, which is you can envision somebody throwing the covers up over their head and hiding underneath it. So again, I will hold this thing up for you to say, it's okay to go below the line. It is. It's just how long are you going to stay there? And only you can get your butt back up above the line, that ownership, accountability, responsibility.
Get out of bed. Love it. Blame, excuses, and denials.
Exactly.
Oh, that is such good stuff.
Yeah.
I want to pour and roll myself out of this.
And think about, but the other big thing, just to, again, carry it forward in true earnest. So you acknowledge it, then you decide that you're going to get busy working on it, and then you get busy or understanding what I'm believing to be true about this situation. That's the first question I ask myself. What do I believe to be true about this circumstance? And you just start writing it all down, because your words matter. They're the words that are going on in your head. You're talking to yourself all day long. So your subconscious is listening to that all day long. So you have to start there, because it's that mental weeding of the garden that prepares the soil to be able to harvest the new stuff, right? So it's like you've got to go through this whole process, and that's really where you do it. So it starts then. So then you get into more of the journaling, you get into more of the self-discovery work, because really there's 2 steps to behavior change. Step number 1 is self-awareness. You cannot change what you do not know. And step number 2 is self-regulation. And then you got to get busy doing some of the tough things. It's not easy, but it's simple.
But that's the work that business owners should be doing all through their entrepreneurial journey to work on these things. So in times like this, when you're really tested, that's when you can see what approach you're taking. So this is my perspective. I'm going to share with you what I think is helpful for leaders to do during this time. I think marketing, like getting out there and providing value, not selling because no one's buying anything right now. There's just, I'm getting messages on LinkedIn, people trying to sell me stuff. And I'm like, did you even ask how I'm doing? Like, why would I be buying, right? It doesn't make any sense.
Really tone deaf.
Yeah. And just marketing, getting out there and providing value, just continuously checking in with your relationships and making sure people are okay, people are good. I think that's really important. I got the nicest email from a client today I want to share, which really got me thinking. He says, I'm reaching out to all of my vendors. I'm interested in prepaying for the next 60 to 90 days. I understand that the economic environment is troubling, and some of my vendors prefer to have more cash on hand now. Please let me know if this is of interest to you. That to me blew my mind, because I started thinking, oh my gosh, I could do this for my vendors. And how this client of mine just went to the top of the list of clients that I now love.
Yeah.
So these are just some great lessons and things that, we're learning through going through things like this. I would never have seen this side of him and seen his generosity and how much he really wants to help us and how much he likes us, which is really nice. That means that he's not going anywhere for the next 90 days.
For sure.
I think
and again, he's putting emotional deposits right into the bank account, which are just so critical. I think all the time. I know we keep saying right now, but it's, it's almost like Valentine's Day. It's like you say I love you all the time, right? And give hugs and kisses, and within 6 feet distance. But I think, I love that. I think that's a really great, it's a really great sentiment to put out there, to pay it forward idea, right? Givers gain.
Yeah. Well, this is great, Stacey.
I know. I had so much fun.
Yeah. I'm so glad we did this. Okay. Maybe we'll have you on again and talk about things when they come down a little bit on how we can be more proactive. But yeah, thank you for your time. I really appreciate this.
Of course.
Where can people find you? Tell us where people can find you.
Best place to find me is on LinkedIn. www.consilioteam.com is my company website. But Stacey McKibbin on LinkedIn is probably the best place to find me.
Okay, we'll add that to the show notes. Okay, thank you so much, Stacey.
All right, you have a great one. I'll look forward to next time.
Thank you so much for listening. For more information on how to grow your business, visit our website at 4dglobalinc.com. That's the number 4, the letter D as in David, global, GLOBALINC.com. Click on the Owners Academy tab for more videos on sales, marketing, operations, and leadership. If you are in the healthcare space and would like to learn more about how to get started with an employee in India, or how to start a risk-free free trial with 4D Global, click on the Get Started for Free button on our website to book a time with someone on our team. See you next time.